You know, in the massive digital worlds of online gaming, your username, it's more than just a tag. It's your whole identity. It's your reputation. It is literally the first thing millions of other players will ever know about you. So that brings up a really interesting question we're going to dig into. Why do some people choose to make that first impression, well, an offensive one?
I mean, just look at this. You're in a sprawling fantasy world, and you can be anyone you want to be. And a lot of players really embrace that, right? They pick these awesome, heroic names like Aegis Knight or something cool like Sylvan Shade. It's a huge part of the fun of building the character you're going to be in this brand new world.
And then, bam, the illusion just shatters. You're in the middle of a quest, and you run into a player with a username that's just deliberately shocking or hateful. It yanks you right out of the game, and for a lot of people, it makes that fun digital space feel pretty hostile, pretty fast.
Yeah, it's a question I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. With all the chat filters and moderators out there, how do these names keep slipping through? Well, that's exactly what we're going to investigate today. Let's unpack the motivations, the psychology, and the real impact of it all.
So first things first, we've got to understand the scope of this thing. This isn't just a one-off incident here and there. Nope, it's a persistent, widespread problem that developers are constantly fighting across pretty much every major online game.
Okay, so why? Why do people do it? Our investigation is going to start with the most common reasons. Think of these as the first clues to understanding what's going on behind the screen.
All right, motive number one, and probably the biggest one, is just plain old attention seeking. For these players, the main goal is to get a reaction from you. Any reaction at all. This is basically the core of trolling culture. Doesn't matter if you get mad or you just laugh it off, either way, they got the attention they were looking for. Mission accomplished for them. The next big motive is a kind of rebellion. Some players see using an offensive name as a way of pushing back against the rules of the game or against social norms, or what they might call political correctness. For them, being defiant is the whole point. It's part of their online persona.
And the third major driver? Something that gets called edgy humor. Now, this one points to a really powerful social dynamic. Inside certain groups of friends, shock value is actually seen as funny or even cool. So an offensive name becomes this weird way to earn social cred and prove just how bold you are.
But here's the thing. These surface-level reasons, attention, rebellion, edgy humor, they all point to something much, much deeper. And to really get it, we need to dive into the psychological profile of the anonymous player. The key concept we need to talk about is the online disinhibition effect. It sounds a little academic, but it's a really powerful idea. Basically, the anonymity you have online acts like a mask. It frees people from the normal social rules and consequences they'd face if they said something like that in the real world, face to face.
And this chart just illustrates that difference perfectly. Look, in person, our behavior is kept in check because we're accountable. The consequences are right there, right away. But online, that accountability feels super distant, maybe even non-existent. And that is the environment that lets this kind of uninhibited behavior just run wild.
And it goes even deeper than just disinhibition. For some, a shocking name is a way to assert power, to dominate the social space. Their name is basically a weapon. For others, it's all about testing boundaries. They see moderation not as a set of rules, but as a game they want to win by seeing how much they can get away with.
So, we've looked at the motives and the psychology behind it. Now let's talk about the real-world impact. What's the collateral damage that these names actually cause to the entire gaming community?
This is so important to remember. These online communities are made up of real people. These names aren't just pixels on a screen. They create genuinely toxic and hostile environments. They can make people feel targeted, unwelcome, and honestly, they can just drive players away from games that they otherwise really love to play.
And the fallout from this is huge. It has these lasting ripple effects. These names directly create unwelcoming spaces, and they often target women, minorities, and younger players, effectively pushing them out. But beyond that, this behavior actually normalizes real-world prejudice. It makes hate speech seem common, maybe even acceptable. And in the end, it just splinters the whole community, turning what should be a fun, shared hobby into a fight over what's okay and what's not.
So, if the damage is so bad, what are game developers actually doing about it? Well, the truth is, it's a constant and frankly often losing cat-and-mouse game. Let's just walk through how this usually plays out. A player gets creative with spelling or symbols to sneak past the automated filters. Then, that name is just out there, existing in the game for days, maybe even weeks. And during that time, it's not just seen by a few people. It's potentially seen by thousands of players, in lobbies and matches, on leaderboards. Eventually, if enough players report it, it might trigger a manual review by a real person, and that person will take action. But by that point, the damage is already done. It's a slow, reactive system that's always playing catch-up.
So, all of this brings us to our conclusion, which, I'm sorry to say, is not a simple fix. The whole issue is really best understood as a complex, ongoing balancing act. There are no easy answers here. The case is very much still open.
And this quote right here from our source material just nails it. On one hand, developers want to give players the freedom to be creative and express themselves. But on the other hand, they absolutely have a responsibility to keep their community safe and inclusive. If the rules are too strict, you kill creativity. But if they're too loose, you let toxicity spread like wildfire. It's a tough spot to be in.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about, one that goes way beyond just video games. As we all spend more and more of our lives in these digital spaces, what does freedom of expression actually mean? And where exactly do we draw the line between that freedom and our shared responsibility to build communities where everyone, and I mean everyone, feels welcome?